Hello and welcome to the very first podcast. I don't have a name yet. This is just going to be a series where I talk to my pals about things that they are interested in or just feel like talking about. Today I'm joined by my very first guest, Mr. Daniel. Hello, Dan.
Hello, how are you doing?
Oh, absolutely bloody fantastic. Now, Dan, what exactly did you want to talk about today?
Today I am here to talk to you, Mr. Good Sir, about my theory on the sixth sense.
Now, I came to you and said, what do you want to talk about? And you had to think about it.
Yeah.
And this is what you came back with, and it interested me, because you said not necessarily completely in the supernatural sense, but in another way.
Yes, in another way. So when you think of people and their senses, we have five senses: taste, touch, hearing, sight, and that other one that I've forgotten about.
Hearing? No, you said hearing, right?
Who knows? It's there. That's fine.
Okay.
I am here to talk to you about my theory on an actual sixth sense that is there to complement the other five.
Okay. I'm keen, because I don't know. I tried to Google it, didn't find much. I'm not sure where you're going with this. I'm very, very interested. But before I start a podcast, I'm gonna have this tradition of, first of all, cracking a nice sody pop.
That sounds good to me.
And you see, if I do it this way, if we do it in silence and pour it, I can get that ASMR box ticked. And that's just gonna... So first of all, we're now going to enter silent mode. So
We're just going to grasp the cans and get the lid, and
that was a good one.
that was a solid crack.
That was a good one.
Now
Here comes the pour.
ooh,
That was nice. I'm happy with that. You ready? Here comes my crack. Ready? Just at the bubbles.
nice and crisp.
Yeah, so every podcast you're going to hear that. So make sure you subscribe for that. I'm doing my pour, but mine wasn't as nice as Dan's. And the second thing I like to do at the start of every podcast is ask the question: if you were a Pokemon, which one would you be, Dan?
I think I would be Eevee.
One of my favorites. Why would you think that?
Because Eevee, in their evolutionary tree, have so many different choices. And just like Eevee, I can be very different at many times, as you have undoubtedly noticed throughout the time of knowing each other. I can go from one to the other, which isn't, what Eevee does, but it's the closest I can get.
Look, that's fair enough. I won't reveal what I am until the last episode.
Okay, fantastic.
So, yeah. But Eevee, interesting. I can see that. I can see you being an Eevee, actually.
Yes.
I could see that. But, let's dive in and get this started. Oh, he's having a quick pour.
I wasn't happy enough with how much I poured first, so
The bubbles.
bit more fizz.
Alright, let's dive in. This is the podcast with Dan about the sixth sense.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Wait, that's McDonald's. You
That's
can't use that.
McDonald's. You can't use that. Now, Dan, explain to us what this sixth sense is exactly.
So my theory that I have on the sixth sense, quite ambiguous because it can't actually be proven, as it is with most things nowadays.
Good start. Yep.
Yep. But it's the idea that the sixth sense is, you've heard of the gut feeling, yeah?
Yep. Certainly have.
You've heard the phrase, always go with your gut because it's probably right.
Yep.
My idea is that gut feeling, which if we want to call it intuition at this point, because that's what it is,
Yep.
is that sixth sense.
Right, so you're talking about that feeling, so it doesn't feel right, it's like a danger you can't necessarily see or know about, but you feel it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, okay. Right, please continue.
So how much do you know about the idea of intuition? is my question to you.
Well, I'd say intuition is a feeling, like I said earlier, of a danger or something that's negative that you can't necessarily see or know about, or, can't see it coming, but you feel like something is.
Exactly. So, what do you feel is the general society's outlook on the idea of intuition? Do they think it is real? Do you believe that people actually acknowledge its existence, or do you think if they just might think it's a coincidence that they might feel something?
I think that comes down to who you're asking. I think it's I'm not sure which side would have a higher percentage in society, but I think it comes down to a personal, a lot of people say go off your gut. Others say this would have happened, it's out of our control, there's no force that decided this before it happening. Me personally, I believe your gut feeling. I don't necessarily act purely on it, but I think if something doesn't feel right, you should check your surroundings.
Definitely. And with what you said there, with your two little scenarios, people who believe in the gut feeling and people who are like, this would have happened no matter what you felt, no matter what you did. With the latter, I've noticed that I've noticed, I haven't seen everyone in the world, but that there is a higher percentage of those people who believe that. And what I feel, perhaps the reason why they believe this is because they do not think that intuition and knowledge are, like knowledge of your surroundings, are directly linked.
Right, okay. So let me ask you a question. What do you believe in? Do you think a gut feeling is something to take serious, or?
I believe the gut feeling or intuition is 100% something you should take serious. I think it might link in or even perhaps be this sixth sense.
Okay.
So take, for example, you're down the street and all of a sudden you have this strange urge, you don't know what it might be, but just to look over your left shoulder.
Yep.
Look over your left shoulder and then you see someone who is looking at you.
Yeah, why have you picked up on that feeling?
Exactly. What gave you that idea that there is something going on over there? Let's take a look.
And I think that's something everyone has experienced in some form before. Like that's pretty common, right?
At least once, yeah.
Do you think that's somewhat paranoia? Do you think maybe like a week ago they watched a film about a kidnapping or a ghost, and something in the back of their mind is saying you need to check your corners constantly now?
Look, it could be that. It could entirely be that. That is up to, the person and whether or not they've watched said movie or, listened to said podcast like you're listening to this one.
Hey, subscribe. But
yeah, exactly.
Interesting. So you think that's actually something, do you think it's something we have or something that we're developing?
I think, and this is where the ambiguity comes in, I think it's something that you have but need to develop.
Right.
So with your other senses, for example, where you have your senses, all 5 senses might be working fine, you don't have to develop them, they're all perfect, that's great. But then you'd get those people, for example myself, who have terrible eyesight.
Yes, right.
You might need to find a way to improve it, or, not necessarily eyesight, but with feeling,
Do you think it's true that when, say, someone loses their sight, their other senses become more powerful or more in tune?
It has actually been scientifically proven.
It has. Okay,
it
cool.
has, yes. I don't have like a link or anything to
sure.
share with you,
but... the reason I ask is like the human body. If it's been scientifically proven that can happen, that's proof that we are capable of developing, in some form, this new, like, it might be hypersensitive existing senses, but in a way that's kind of developing this sense of feeling around, because I'm not blind, I could never understand what it's like to be blind, but do you think they get this feeling around them, like really sensitive to that? Could that be somewhat linked to this sense?
I don't know for sure, but I would say so with almost complete certainty that this feeling does come to them as easily as it would for someone who has their eyesight.
Right. Do you think that's because we depend on our eyes too much? Or not too much, but do you think we depend a lot on our visual aspect and less on, like,
There is obviously a strong dependence on eyesight, but what people don't realize with that is it's the same with your hearing. Say you're in a forest you know, you can hear birds chirping, noises happening, you know, twigs falling. You know, that's your dependency. If all of a sudden that stops,
Yep.
you instantly know something's not right.
Right. I think I'm starting to see what you mean. So, would that... So, what I'm understanding is this sense isn't necessarily something by itself. It's using all your other senses to notice subtle changes that you may not typically notice.
Yes, but at the same time, no.
Okay.
I believe that intuition, the sixth sense,
Yep.
is not only a key link between all five senses, but at times might have absolutely nothing to do with them at either.
Right. Okay. Interesting. So, in one sentence, what would you define this sixth sense as? Like, rounding up what you just said.
Rounding up what I just said in one sentence. Give me one moment while I think of that.
I'm just gonna pour another little. While Dan's thinking, I'm just gonna have a little more ASMR.
Sneak it in there while you can.
Gotta tick them boxes.
Oh yeah.
Ooh. Just like that. Just like that.
So in one sentence, I'm going to structure this as I go as well.
That's fine.
The sixth sense is the ability to sense your surroundings. Trying to think of the word. Let's go with any anomalies in those surroundings. And there is something else that I want to say, but I don't know the words for it.
I can get you a thesaurus if you want.
That might actually be helpful. Yeah. So yeah, the ability to sense your surroundings, changes in your surroundings,
Yep.
and sometimes things that you might not be able to hear, see, or smell in your surroundings, but you just have a feeling that it's there.
Okay. Now that you've put it like that, I feel like it's something other people talked about before, but it's been dismissed because there's been no concrete evidence.
Exactly, and that's what I mean by,
Yeah.
you know, it's a theory I have, but
Yeah.
it cannot be proven.
I think I agree with you. Like, I think it's something that we have, but it hasn't been decreed or proven as definitely like a sixth sense. I guess the next question would be is, why do you believe this? Like, do you have like any personal experiences, or have you had this feeling and it's got you thinking about it? What's made you come to this conclusion yourself?
Well, this conclusion came about. I made some examples earlier, you know, about the whole looking over your left shoulder, seeing someone there,
Yeah.
sort of thing. Like, I've experienced that, and that popping up in my mind has got me thinking, why am I experiencing that?
Mhm.
You know, there's also something like, say you're cooking, something is burning. You can't tell that it is burning until, say, you smell it, for example.
Right. Yep.
Now, your intuition, I believe, your sixth sense, it can kick in two ways here. So the first one is your intuition says, this is burnt, it's going to taste bad. Now,
Right. Yep.
obviously you're not going to know until you eat it, but the second way is, this is burnt, but it might still taste good. For example,
My cooking.
I'm not sure, I haven't experienced your cooking, but have you had burnt cheese before?
Yes.
Actually, do you like burnt cheese?
It depends on which cheese, but I like I find Kraft cheese burnt is quite nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So any standard person, normal in society, normal being the operative term, is cooking
Yep.
something, they have cheese on it, the cheese is burning, they might think, oh, that's burnt, now I'm gonna have to start again.
Yeah.
Whereas your eye might think, if it's your Kraft cheese, that's burning, perfect, it's gonna taste great.
Yep.
Course.
What sense, like, would that come down to, like, the person's palate more than you
So
know?
that is going to come down to their palate. It's going to come down to their sense of taste and their sense of smell.
Yeah.
But what I'm talking about here is before you've even stopped cooking, before you've tasted it, you know, that feeling that you get that might not always actually be correct.
Yeah, right. I see what you're saying. Like, it, if you don't try it, I guess you'll never know
Exactly.
if it
Yeah.
matches your palate. But if something's telling you not to eat the burnt
Not to eat
food
the burnt
item,
cheese. Yeah.
I guess you'll never know.
Yeah.
Interesting.
More than likely, the route you're going to take is putting it in the bin, not eating the burnt cheese.
Right. So, are you saying so? What? So that obviously depends on a different sense, like visual and smell, I guess, before you
Yeah.
taste it.
Yeah.
Is there an example using this new sixth sense that you could like, besides walking down the street and noticing? Is there a situation that wouldn't necessarily depend on another person being there? Like
That wouldn't or would? Sorry.
wouldn't.
Okay. So
Because even if you don't, if there's not another person in the room, you can still see someone. You can still smell something.
Yeah.
But you're saying the sense is someone or something drawing its attention to you, and you feel that.
Yep.
Does this work with non-living things?
See, it does, because let's go back to your idea that you had of, say, a week ago, a person has watched a scary movie. You know, someone's got kidnapped, there's a killer or something.
Yep.
You're at home, it's nighttime, the lights might be on, but your mind is drawn back to that film. And all of a sudden you're hearing things, you know? There might be a noise with your house, and you think, that someone's here, there's a footstep, there's someone in my house.
Mhm.
Your intuition is driving you to believe that.
Yep. The mind is a powerful thing.
Exactly.
Do you think that this sixth sense, like if we were to locate your vision and your hearing, you'd go eyes, ears.
Yep.
Where do you think the sixth? I just realized how silly this question sounds. But where do you think the sixth sense is located?
The sixth sense, well, you know, intuition, people always tell you when they get a gut feeling, they can feel it in their gut.
Yeah.
But I think it is more of a mind-driven thing. It is something that is driven in your mind, but your feeling comes from your gut.
Right. So it's something inside of you. Would you think it's obviously the mind and emotion? Is that?
I'm not sure if you'd call it specifically an emotion.
Okay.
You might call it the result of emotions. So say, for example, you know, you've watched the scary movie, you're scared.
Yeah.
You know, you're afraid something might happen, you hear a noise, a killer in the house.
Right.
That's
Right.
that's the process your mind would take.
Do you think a person's mentality, like, decides if they have that sixth sense or not?
So earlier I made the key point about how it's something that you always have, but may need to develop. It's sort of like that sort of thing. If you don't have, if you have the mentality for, you know, the sixth sense isn't real, intuition doesn't exist, you still have it, but you don't acknowledge that you have it.
Right.
So it's that sort of thing where you have it, you use it, but you don't realize you're using it.
So it's dismissed. Like,
Yeah.
someone may have that feeling, but because they believe so strongly that it's not a thing, they dismiss it as something else,
Yeah.
perhaps.
Like with the killer in the house. You hear the noise, you think, what if there's a killer? And then you dismiss it.
Right.
But then,
Interesting.
I don't know about you, but personally, even when I dismiss it, I always generally go, what if there is a killer?
Oh yeah, if I hear a noise in the house, I walk around baseball bat. I ain't taking no risk with that one.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, what advantages, like, if it was decided that it was proven that we have this sense, what do you think that would mean for the world? How could this be applied to our society, job-wise, situation-wise?
You see, that is a difficult thing, because from what I can tell is, it is already applied.
Okay. Yep.
You know, so you're at your job, you know, you're lifting something up, you put something on a shelf. You know, you turn away, not paying attention to it, let go of it. But something tells you, stop, put your hand back. You go and do that, and it started falling off the shelf.
Right. So when you put it like that, something just went ding in my head. Do you think that's possibly our survival instincts? Do you think it has anything to do with that?
And it could have to do with that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, instincts, intuition, you know, they do sort of interline somewhat.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. Yeah.
As I said, like, this whole idea is completely ambiguous, up for discussion. It might not be intuition in the first place, but something very similar.
Right. So, yeah, because animals, I guess, they're always very like wild animals. They're always very cautious. They're always looking around, always checking. and I guess that comes down to that's the animal. Most people call it animal instinct.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a fight or flight sort of. You know, always looking for danger.
Yeah.
Maybe in a sense that as humans we've just gotten too comfortable as top of the food chain, and maybe it's a sense we've always had, but have lost so much use for it. Because I think if you go back to like early man, like you know, hunting and scavenging man.
Yeah, like wooden spear stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I think they would probably have that animal instinct as well, but maybe as we progressed and became safer in our society,
Yeah.
maybe we've just dropped off the use for that sense.
And that's the thing about human adaptability. We can adapt to suit an environment, but that could also mean that we lose a sense of something because we no longer need it for that environment.
Yeah, right.
So what we might pick up, we may lose something of even greater use or importance.
Right, I see. This is making more logical sense to me as we've talked more about it, because it started off as explaining that feeling of someone behind you with no explanation, and we moved on to, you know, survival instincts.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that I believe I'm on your side of this even more now. Like, I'm a bit more sold, because I do think we have that, you know, we also have that fight or flight built into us, that need to survive. So basically, I just burped.
Yeah.
I didn't want to burp, but I did. That's what the soda pop does. But yeah, I guess it's something that we have, like any living creature, well, any, you know, moderately intelligent creature would have that fight or flight sort of. I don't know if ants have it. Do ants have that fight or flight survival instinct?
I don't know. I've not spent time honestly observing ants.
If you're an ant expert, please let us know in the comments if ants have a fight or flight. But no, that's interesting, man. And what's made you want to talk about this?
Like literally.
Try again. We're all good. We're all good.
My English ability is fantastic, as you can tell. No, but literally. There we go.
Yep. That's a word. Yep.
I think I said it earlier in the thing, but it's like it's just this. You know, I've noticed these things happening, and it's got me thinking.
Okay.
You know, the more I think about it, the more avenues I take to connect to it, and you know, the more that I come to see this as logically explainable, or you know.
Do you think it's Darwinism? Do you think humans are going to dramatically evolve in the next 5,000 years? Because evolution doesn't happen overnight. It's going to take a long time.
It doesn't happen overnight, no. Darwinism, sort of. You know, evolution comes to any animal, which is what we are, we're animals, as an instinctive need to change. You know,
what if we're getting more dangerous, right? What if in like the last 100 years we're getting more dangerous from, you know, wars and you know, all the 18th century freedom of killing, you know, 17th century. What if we become more dangerous and now we're developing that sense back?
It's possible. It's definitely possible. But I think that danger you're talking of is just, you know, nature, human nature. We like to cause up and stir a bit of trouble. But in terms of evolution, where we are at the moment with, you know, modern science, medicine, that sort of thing, we're finding the need to evolve has become almost unnecessary.
Yeah.
You know, we have this medicine to keep us healthy. We don't need to adapt to any sort of, you know, poison or disease.
I think one of the biggest one was the refrigerator. We can store food for so long now.
Yeah.
So we don't have to hunt anywhere near as much.
Yeah. Well, even we've gotten rid of hunting almost completely. It's now game sport.
Yeah, exactly. It's gotten to that point where it's a recreational thing, not a survival sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know what? Humor me a bit. What you're talking about doesn't regard the supernatural specifically.
Not specifically.
But with the sixth sense, that's often linked to the, you know, linked to the spiritual world or supernatural events. people having that extra sense where they can see, you know, I guess ghosts, entities, communicate with them in some cases. What do you think about that side of stuff?
I feel I'm not ruling out that it's not there, but I feel like it has been overly. I want to say, but it's wrong to say Americanized. You know, with all the movies that come out about it, you know, Hollywood and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, put it out there as this definite thing that occurs to everyone.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not completely ruling out that it's there. There is.
What would you say about more? Because we're both fans of the eastern part of the world, Asia and places like that. What would you think more of there? Because they definitely have a strong spiritual connection in their culture.
They do.
And they often talk about entities appearing, you know, taking physical form and stuff like that. Ignoring the West, what would you say about cultures that, I guess, haven't westernized the idea of the sixth sense? They would not call it a sixth sense in Asia.
No, they would not at all.
But when it comes down to it, that's what America has sort of coined their version of that side of things.
Basically, yeah. The westernized sixth sense is what. Shut up.
You'll get there on the end. It's all good.
The westernized version of it is derived from, you know, the Eastern Asian sort of what back in maybe 1300s might have been known as quote unquote common sense.
Right. Yeah, true. That's a good point. Like, we've changed a lot. The world as a whole has changed a lot.
Exactly. And I don't know enough about, you know, sort of all the different Asian cultures to comment on where their idea of the supernatural might link in with it. Obviously, I'd have to learn more about that. But as it is with Westerns, you know, folk tales.
Yeah.
I believe that there is a lot of that going on in Asia as well. Not completely ruling out the fact that the supernatural doesn't exist. Wait, no, I've worded that wrong. Not ruling out the fact that the supernatural does exist.
Yeah.
But then not believing the fact that it is as common as, you know, the Asian culture might believe.
Yeah. Do you believe in ghosts?
I do, completely, 100%.
100%. Okay.
Yeah.
On the opposite, see, I don't believe in spirits of deceased ones.
Yeah.
Why are they never animals? Or cavemen? Like, it's always Patricia in her 18th century dress, spooking the kids. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing. You know, as I said, that is where that has derived from the Americanized Hollywood.
Yeah.
You know,
True.
that's the sort of bit that's being portrayed to our society at the moment.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a different podcast.
Yeah, let's leave that.
That's another episode. But yeah, like, any final thoughts on what? Anything you want to end with, or?
Not really. I've sort of touched upon everything that, you know, I think I've wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
All the stuff that may or may not be there, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like, going into this, I was always in agreement that I feel like there's a sense we're developing, but talking it out with someone has sort of, and thinking about, and like coming up with an explanation for it, has sort of like just reinforced that belief for me. I think it has a lot to, personally, based on this conversation alone, I believe it's a sense based on the need to survive and so on. But this has been awesome, man. This has been fascinating.
Yeah, it's been great.
It's been very fun. Dan will definitely be back. Definitely be back on the podcast to talk about more stuff. I don't know what will be next.
No, neither do I. It's gonna be one of those things where I just call him up, be like, hey, I want to talk about this.
Anytime.
And away we go. Yeah.
Is there anything you want to plug? Anything like any projects you're working on? Any channels?
No, not really. Can put my own.
I just started drinking. You're like, no, there's nothing I really want to promote. There's nothing.
Yeah,
Do you have a Twitter?
No, I don't.
Wow, we need to get you on Twitter.
I know. I need to do some social networking, but before that, I need to actually put something up to date on my channel. It's been over a year since I've put anything on.
Go and subscribe to Insidious Enigma on YouTube, right? Go and subscribe, because if you subscribe, he'll be forced to update it and actually upload content.
That is true, and you will be some of the few people, before I get my gear in act, to see all the shit that I've made previously,
Yeah.
before I wipe it clean.
Get to see the before and after. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming and having a chat, Dan.
It has been a pleasure.
This has been the Something Podcast. I don't have a name yet. I'll work that out.
Yeah, I'm sure you
but
will.
You of course can check out my channel, Game Buffet Live Official, where I upload Let's Plays, reviews, and some other stuff. I have a channel called This Is a Channel. I have a video series called This Is a Bad Idea. The last episode I tried some ridiculously hot sauces. That was fun.
Yes, I saw that. That does, that did pique my interest in two ways.
Yes.
Sort of like, wow, this is really fascinating, and wow, why the fuck would he do this?
I didn't have my sixth sense to not do it that day. The next, I'm going to drop the next episode, so I stick to it. Next episode of This Is a Bad Idea on Game Buffet Live Official is going to be mouse traps.
Mouse traps.
Possibly a rat trap.
Yes, that does sound like a bad idea, and I don't even know what you're going to do with it yet.
But guys, thank you so much for listening. We will catch you next time. My next guest will be Mr. Jake, my friend, and we're going to be talking about conspiracy theories.
Fantastic.
More specifically, aliens. So if you like that, definitely come by and have a listen.
I'm looking forward to seeing that already.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Bye.